bit sassy, a little bit crazy, a little bit classy. We got dreams and we got goals. We're just a couple of old sassholes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Did we get it on the first try?
We did, and I'm so freaking excited.
Professionals.
I don't know. Today, I'm just...
You know what next week is? I just thought of literally right now.
What?
Live.
Oh,
It's our 1 year.
we should probably tell them what it's our 1 year of. This is a Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Maple.
I am Heather Terry.
And this is our podcast about true crime, fucked up shit, fucked up people, fucked up things, all that jazz. It's our 1 year.
Yeah, on the 14th, I think.
Oh, my God, my heart.
Be still, my heart.
I know. She'd be bursting.
God, I hate when people say that.
I love it.
You do?
I do.
Really?
I don't know. It depends on the whole situation. I like it whenever you and I say it and we're joking.
Yeah.
Which I like everything in that arena.
Like chef's kiss?
Yes, I love chef's kiss. And what else? I think it depends if it's like a photo of you and insert whoever is important to you and you put it on your Instagram. That makes me want to gouge my eyes out.
A friend posted a quote in like a selfie, like a mirror selfie, a guy friend, and his roommate roasted him and said, "Did a 16-year-old girl make your caption?"
I love that.
I know, it was awesome.
Good. I want to be friends with whoever is the one who roasted the other one.
Yes.
Can we talk about the fact that we're in a different studio and I'm vibing it so hard?
Yeah, it's much better. We both have little stands.
Yeah.
Because someone's not dry humping the desk and the other one.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I need to tell Will. Scissoring the corner.
I mean, I'm literally sitting like...
Yeah, you do. I side saddle.
Yeah.
Like a lady in a dress on a Western.
Yes. And I'm over here looking like I'm about to fucking spit chaw in the corner and be like, let's go.
Your OBGYN to be like, no, scoot down farther. And you're like, bitch, I'm already halfway off this table.
Basically. It is what it is. But now we're standing and we can look at each other and the mics are in our mouth holes. Right? I always feel like that's my struggle. It's like the mic is never in the right spot. It's like, it's never in the right spot to my mouth. How's that?
The way that you say
it's always cockeyed to the corner or something. And right now I'm straight on and it feels good. Feels good, guys.
Oh my God.
I love it. I'm feeling good. So my commute here today.
Like you?
I don't know. I like it. You're doing the mirroring thing. I keep doing this with my hand. Heather does this like 2 outs kind of thing whenever she's talking about 2 people. Yeah. And I've now adopted it. And it was one of the things that I made fun of her the most for. And now I'm doing it.
You're welcome.
That's cool. Anyway, on my way here, there were like 78 cops. It literally, it made me think of like 4th of July weekend. I'm like, it's Easter, guys. It's Easter. Is everyone getting lit for Jesus? That's what I want to know.
He is risen.
Yeah, and so has my blood alcohol level.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm wondering.
You're so proud of that.
I am, because I just have questions. Like, why are there that many cops out on, I don't know. Made me ponder. I was like, are people getting turned up for Jesus Christ? And maybe they are. Should I? Is everyone else doing it and I need to get involved?
I don't need an excuse.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I love it. So what was Easter like for you whenever you were?
Oh my gosh.
Wee little Heather.
Oh, well, wee little. I was just shorter and younger. I don't think I was. It was good. We would go to my grandma's house and she had this huge hill in French Lick, Indiana. And we would have an Easter egg hunt for all the family. We have a huge family, so that was fun. But then when we got older, then the older kids would get their own, and we would like beat the shit out of each other.
I believe that.
Yeah, we would cheat. They would put money. It was great. So I remember that.
I remember the Easter egg hunts at our church because until I was 12 and started playing like travel softball, I was in church all the time. And I don't know. I just remember that they had awesome Easter egg hunts and that I was never very good at it. Because even as a little kid, I would analyze like what I had and what other people had, and then just assume I had a shortcoming on getting Easter eggs.
I wish y'all could see her. I know, like, this is like your therapy, because when you were saying it, it was paining you to say the words.
Yeah, because it's just ridiculous. But I remember as a child doing that.
Do you want to unpack that off the mic?
I don't
Should we hug? Let's insert a commercial here.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's been Brooklyn since she came out the womb.
Do we need to do a redo?
A redo of what?
Easter egg hunt. I feel like we should do one now.
No, because what if I wasn't good and then I just like tackle you?
How are you not good at finding colored things in grass?
You're right. I don't know. I don't know.
Sis.
Anyway, it was awesome and so much fun. And then, like, my family, we weren't very big. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I have 2 cousins that were older than me, and then we had some younger cousins on my mom's side that were younger than me. It was like no one really my age. I don't know. I think we did a little bit at my Mima's house, but I do remember us always taking Easter pretty seriously, and I love the dresses. My mom would put me in the cutest dresses. You know, one of the photos, my hair be looking real curly and cute.
Oh, I do know one of the photos.
Yeah, the blue and white dress.
God, I love
That's
when
my
your
favorite dress.
I love when your mom busts those out.
Yeah, always buzzed up, busting out the fucking photos to show Heather. Always gotta love that, and she does it to Travis too. It's like fucking, hey, mom, Mona,
Love it.
stop. Okay, what else do we got?
Well, nothing.
I like it.
I
know Heather looked so caught off guard, and I was like, I don't know that we have anything.
I don't think so either. Oh yeah. Well, speaking of Facebook, people need to chill on their Facebook. You guys, okay, it's not a diary. Other people can see it, and people be talking about poop on there a lot. And I know we just talked about someone pooping on the last episode, so sorry, we're keeping on theme, but I can't stand it.
Yes.
But I can stand it because I love to watch it.
It's hate following. We talk about it all the time. I hate follow more than I follow. Or actually, no, that's a lie. I don't want to put that out there because I follow. If you go on my Instagram, it is literally like a beautifully curated positive affirmation journey for me. And I love it. Facebook, though, is all those weird motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they be posting crazy shit.
I know. And it's like sneak attack people that you don't expect. I'm like, oh, you're jumping on that overshare train too. Like, I don't want to hear if you were up pooping in the middle of the night. Like, don't do it.
What? You don't? But
So
I
don't
text you
follow
that.
Brooklyn.
I know. I don't put anything. Pretty much my Facebook at this point is work or podcast. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Those are the things we haven't done yet. Post our fucking photos. I just
my
thought
God, me
about
too.
that.
Woo.
We are so good. I did
Yeah.
want to take 2 seconds and just be like, Heather has been crushing it, guys. If anyone is actual friends with Heather, number 1, lucky you.
Oh my
and
God.
number 2, she's just been doing so much for the podcast, and she's so uncomfortable that she's not even looking at me. I can literally see her fidgeting. But no, she has breathed new life in me and the excitement of the podcast, and she has been working on this shit so hard behind the scenes. So just a little bravo to my little Heather, my Heather bear.
I don't take compliments well, so.
But yet she wants
Happy
them
birthday.
all the time.
I do, but they make me uncomfortable.
I know. She's like, give me more, but I hate it.
I gotta
But
face
more,
my fears.
But I love it. Yeah.
Face my fears.
Face them. All right. So today is really, I am so pumped about this because Heather had a killer idea, pun intended. But we had the kidnapping theme a while ago. It was a few weeks ago, and then so many things happened, and we kind of pivoted. But now Heather's going to do hers, and the wild story of this one is that she is a kidnapping story, and then I am going to tell the follow-up story of the brother.
It's a big family affair.
It is.
And
so,
I don't talk about that the entire time.
What?
At all. I don't talk about your story at all.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah.
I pick up after your story.
Yes, you
so
do.
it's I'm really excited about this one, and I probably shouldn't be because it's just really sad.
It is very sad.
It is sad, and I wonder if what happened on your story, if that wouldn't have happened, I don't think my story would have happened. So that's what sucks
That's
too.
also sad.
Yeah.
It's weirding me out that you're like all done up for Easter already, and I really rolled out of bed and threw my glasses on. So
I really wish I would have done that.
I did brush my teeth though. So.
I really wish I would have done that. I would have loved to have just gotten out of bed. And I told Travis that this morning. I was like, out of all the podcast episodes, I actually have to be dressed because we're going to Travis's families after this. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So I'm showered, looking cute. If I don't say so myself.
Oh God, she does not have trouble accepting compliments,
I
especially
do
from
not.
herself.
I do not. So if anyone wants to give me one, I'll take it. Thank you. All
Okay.
right, let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
This is the kidnapping of Steven Stayner. I didn't even realize this story even happened. I didn't hear about it for some reason.
So I know everything about this, and I think it's because I remember watching all the documentaries on it.
Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, I can. All right. So back in, no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to. But like, it was also shocking to go because there's no way to do my story without reading a lot about your story. So I'm not going to do a lot of shock and awe because I know the story, and it is so wild and sad. Wild and sad.
Wild and sad.
That's going to be the title. Wild and sad. That was like me for like many years. Just wild and sad. Okay, go.
Okay, my sources today, Wikipedia. Like, I feel like we should donate to. We say them every time.
We should.
give them
We
$5
should start
or something.
Yeah, let's do it.
Throw a couple shekels over there, doubloons, if you will.
Why did I love that? Sorry. Okay, go.
Wikipedia, investigationdiscovery.com, eonline.com and episode 154 of the podcast Case File. Merced, California is known as the gateway to Yosemite, and it's about 80 miles away from there. This town has over 86,000 people today, so think like less than Davis County, Kentucky, where we live, because we have about 100,000.
Oh, good to know.
Mm-hmm. It's known to be close-knit, and people there are super into the outdoors and the wilderness because it's all around them.
How could you not be? Oh, my God.
I can tell you.
What a dream.
I like to look at photos and look at it, but I don't want to be out in it.
Heard.
Yep. From 1967 to 1971, the Stayner family lived in a 20-acre ranch on the outskirts of the county. I've heard the dad's name like 2 different ways, so I'm just going to call him Dale.
Yeah, that's how I call him, too.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Kay and Dale Stayner had 5 kids: Cary, Cindy, Steven, Jody, and Corey. Dale was a mechanic at a peach cannery. Which I don't even think I've ever said those words out loud together.
I like it.
Yeah. And grew almonds on their farm.
Sorry, I have questions about all of that. I love it. Okay.
I love almonds and I love peaches. Oh, there you go. Were practicing Mormons and super involved in their church. 1971, the summer was dry and the crops sucked ass, so they sold the ranch and they moved to the suburbs of Merced. Steven was 7 at the time, and he was really obsessed with the outdoors, so he took it pretty hard that they moved in there. It took him a minute, but he got settled into his new school. In September of 1972, he started making friends and getting used to everything. On December 4th, 1972, the 4 older children walked the 12 blocks to school, which Corey wasn't in school yet, and they did this every day. Cary was in the 6th grade, so he was in charge of all of them. Steven finished school at 2 p.m. that day, which was an hour before his siblings. He usually walked with his friends home, but that day it was gross and rainy and cold, so Kay was going to go pick him up while she was out running errands.
That's his mom, right?
Mm-hmm. At 2:10, she'd hoped Steven was waiting, but he was not at the school, so she drove home watching for him along the way. And it was like 10 minutes away. So at 2:20, she got home, and he wasn't there. He had gotten scolded before by going to a friend's house instead of like asking if he could do that. So she just assumed that he'd done that again.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I mean, why would you not,
I mean, you're right. It was the 70s. At this point, if you're not responding to me, I'm like, Heather's dead in a ditch. Who killed her? I need to find out more. So I get it.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one time that for whatever reason your phone location was showing you in the middle of the Ohio River and I called you 800 times? Do you remember that?
I was out at a bar that was on the Ohio River here in Owensboro.
You weren't responding to me at all, and it was like just showing her in the middle, like literally in the middle of the Ohio River, and I was like,
that would have scared me too, because you sent me a screenshot and my little face was in the middle of the water.
I was like, I thought you were going to bar. Respond to me.
Yeah, I think you even got a hold of Will that night. Anyway.
I did. Well, you're alive.
Yep. Thanks for your concern.
Always.
At 5 p.m., his parents called the cops, who weren't overly concerned, of course.
Because 70s cops. They were super concerned all the time. That's all they did.
Yeah, they said that missing children usually turned up somewhere, so they just weren't concerned. That's what they told them.
Of course. No, he'll be home. He's just playing with his friends.
Yeah. A gas station attendant said he'd seen him around 2 or 3 heading towards his house, but he didn't see anything weird. Police, search parties, even Boy Scout troops went out searching for him, and then they put it on the local radio, too. So around midnight that night, the cops brought his dad in for questioning, and it pissed him off, of course.
Because Dell was an asshole, right?
I didn't dive into that part too hard.
Oh, I'll talk to you about it later.
Mm-hmm. He said he would take a polygraph, and it took a few days, but spoiler alert, he passed it.
Why do they make the dad? That's so, okay, sorry. It's just the fucking cops in the 70s, man. Like, you're making him, whatever.
Yeah.
What the fuck
I know.
ever.
You're already upset, and then, I guess they have to look at the people closest to you first, but.
Yeah, and if whenever we go into it too, you're going to understand why the fuck they looked into that.
Oh.
Because he was an ass face.
Okay, well, I didn't know any of that. So the next day, the cops set up recording devices on their phones, just like at their house, just in case there was a ransom call. This went on the statewide news, and hundreds of people searched. They dragged the waters and all that stuff. The cops even tried to go on a hunch that the Stayner sold Steven to get out of debt.
Huh.
But like an episode of The Maury Show, the lie detector test determined that was a lie. So, Yep. They searched for days.
Sold a fucking kid, man.
Right? I know.
I couldn't imagine if I had a kid and they went missing and then you're just over here like, well, you probably sold them. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Like, oh, yeah. On Marketplace, on Facebook Marketplace.
That probably happens, and that also makes me sad.
What?
You know it does. People are weird.
Stuff. They searched for days without any luck. They even got a list of sex offenders in that county and surrounding counties, but none of them were linked at all. The cops thought that Steven was taken to Yosemite since it was so freaking big and a tourist attraction, so it had lots of transients. They requested a list of the park's employees, which included hospitality workers within the park, but that pissed off the park ranger because he didn't think this was relevant at all.
I wonder why he thought that. Because he doesn't know shit about fuck.
Right? He also thought that the posters of a missing child in the park would freak out the tourists that came there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
that is an accurate statement.
they called off the search a week later on December 11th, which devastated the family, of course. No signs of Steven still, and Christmas came and went. The parents tried to make it happy for the other children, and they even left Steven's presents under the tree so he would have them when he came home. In 1973, the Stayners tried calling news stations across the country, but none of them would cover it because it was old news. On May 15th, 1973, the community raised $5,000 for a reward, but no luck there either. So 1 year went, and there's still nothing. The family said they would never move because they wanted to make sure Steven knew where they would be when he came home.
Aww.
I know. On the second anniversary, his mom released a statement saying she knows he's still alive. Valentine's Day, 1980, 7 years after Steven went missing, 5-year-old Timmy White finished kindergarten 237 miles away from Merced in Ukiah, California. Timmy always walked 3 blocks home from his babysitter's house and would walk with a friend until about a minute away from that porch. At 11:30 a.m., when Timmy would normally show up, he never got there. I know.
A 5-year-old.
I know.
And what, Steven was only 7?
When he was at the At 12:30 p.m., the babysitter called Timmy's mom, and then she called the cops. I know you're going to be shocked, but they weren't immediately concerned. Right?
What?
But by 3 p.m., they changed their tune a little bit and started looking everywhere. 2 days later, they brought tracker dogs in, but it was pouring down rain, so they couldn't get a scent. It had been storming real bad. 2 weeks went by, and they didn't find anything at all. Then on Saturday, March 1st, after 11 p.m. at the Ukiah police station, an officer there saw a small child looking in the window and crying. When he went outside, the boy ran into the arms of an older boy. Another cop pulled up and asked the boys their names. The little boy said Timmy White, and the older boy said, "My name is Steven, and I've been missing for over 7 years."
Oh, my God. How epic. Yeah. How fucking epic.
Yeah. They called Timmy's mom, and when she got to the station and saw the boy, she didn't recognize him. He was filthy, and his hair was dyed dark brown, and it used to be bright blonde. She actually fainted when she figured out it was him.
I'm sure. Oh, my goodness. He was only 5.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he was dirty, and his hair was different, and
oh, my gosh.
She probably thought he was not alive. Steven told them that Timmy had been taken by the same person who took him. He said he didn't want Timmy to go through what he'd gone through, and he'd planned to escape as soon as he arrived, but the weather was bad for a couple weeks, so that threw him off. At first, Steven refused to give up any info on who took him and he called him his dad, but then he cracked.
Whoa.
He named Kenneth Parnell, who worked half a mile from the police station at the palace.
I'm going to body slam somebody. I'm going to find somebody today, and I'm going to fucking body slam them.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. I hate that fucking guy.
Oh, you're going to hate him.
Fucking, I know.
Yeah,
fucking hate him. Sorry, everyone. Fucking hate him. Heather has allergies, and so like if you guys listen to this and there's like random cuts out, it's because it's Heather coughing, and I have to cut it out.
I can't help it.
Just a journey for everyone. I just want everyone to know the behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes?
The behind the scenes.
Okay.
It's Heather coughing.
I can't help it, man.
I know.
It's my cross to bear.
Oh, Easter.
He is risen. Steven angrily denied, though, that he was sexually abused because obviously they asked him that.
And that's embarrassing and terrifying and all that.
They called Steven's parents to tell him that they'd be over there shortly with some news about their son. But Cary, the oldest son, had gone camping with his friends, so they thought it was about Cary.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is also at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
So they're like, hey, we have news about your son. We'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, I would never, ever assume it was. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, why would you that many years later, too? They said they couldn't see Steven immediately, but they would get to the next day. Through the statements and interviews, they finally figured out what happened. Back on December 4th, 1972, Steven was approached by 2 men, and one of them was then 41-year-old Kenneth Parnell. They were giving out religious pamphlets and asking for donations for their church. He said he would have to ask his mom, so they said, here, you can just ride with us and we'll go ask her. I know. They took him out of town, and they even stopped at a payphone saying they called his parents, and they said it was okay if he stayed the night there with them.
So terrifying.
I know.
Oh, and he's so young to not know.
Yeah, they said he was nice to everybody, too. Steven said they were nice, so he wasn't scared, and he actually trusted them. They took him to a cabin that Kenneth rented, and he was only 200 feet away from his biological grandfather who lived in that trailer park, but he didn't know. I know. Kenneth worked at Yosemite Valley Lodge, and they moved him into the employee dorm building. He would drug Steven with sleeping pills whenever he'd go to work, and he had a bucket as a toilet.
Oh.
I know. The other man would come in and feed him and play with him sometimes when Kenneth was gone, and Steven said he really liked it when he was there. A few weeks later, they went back to the cabin, and Kenneth brought Steven a puppy that he named Queenie. Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is the same day. This is why he bought him the dog. This was the same day that Kenneth told him a judge had granted him permanent parental rights because his parents couldn't afford to keep him anymore.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? He cut his hair and then dyed it dark brown that night also. They moved to Santa Rosa and they were motel hopping, and Kenneth enrolled Steven in elementary school, calling him Dennis Parnell. He told them that he was divorced and he got custody of Dennis. He put on his records that Yosemite Elementary was the previous school, and nobody fact checked that.
Yeah, why would they?
Yeah.
I would never think to do it either.
I mean, now they have to, but back then, sure, I went there. Oh, God, I hate this guy so much.
Yep.
Kenneth worked at the Holiday Inn there, and he was also a door-to-door Bible salesman.
Who had kidnapped a little boy.
Let that sink in. Yeah.
And this is why I feel the way I feel about churches or organized religion. Love everyone, not trying to offend.
Yeah,
but this is why I feel the way I feel about organized religion.
Gives them a bad name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kenneth hired babysitters for him, but he threatened Steven about it, of course, if he talked to anybody. In February of 1973, they moved to a shithole trailer park, and Steven had to change schools again. He was slowly accepting that this was his life, he said, and he was just trying to survive. But he actually liked his new school, and he even got to make friends. He had a best friend. His name was Kenny Mathis.
Yep.
One day in April, he was 8 years old. He snuck out when Kenneth fell asleep to find his real family, but he got lost and scared, so he went home. Or not home. He went back to Kenneth, sorry. Later that year, Steven got the mumps and something else, so Kenneth had to take him to the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, nothing looked out of the ordinary, but he wouldn't let him talk. But Kenneth could answer all his questions. Who knows what he said and if it's true. They moved again in November of 1973, and Steven had to switch schools and leave his best friend Kenny behind. At this point, Kenneth Parnell started being more relaxed and started taking him out to eat and things like that, like taking him in public.
Yeah, at this point, he probably thinks he has whatever is that syndrome that young kids get whenever they're kidnapped.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm crushing it with explaining what it is, but where they believe that they're they don't want to leave or escape, and they don't want to upset the person that took them.
Yeah. I mean, he was so groomed at this point, too.
Was the sexual assault already happening at this point? Okay, because I was pretty sure he started. Do you go into that?
I do. He did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
I just wanted for everyone else to know that during all of this, sexual assault was happening.
A lot of the stuff, the order that I do this in, it'll make sense at the end.
Sad.
But February of 1974, Kenneth quit his Holiday Inn front desk job because the new law said he couldn't smoke anymore. Big fucking baby. It made me so mad when I read that. I was like, wow, you quit your job because you can't sit there and smoke Marlboros. Can you just chill out for a little bit? They moved back to the shit motels, and Steven got to go back to school with Kenny, though, at least.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Kenneth started dating freaking Kenny's mom, though, Barbara Mathis. And then he went back to the Holiday Inn and was like, you know what, I guess I can handle not smoking at my desk. Barbara moved in with Kenneth and Steven in the trailer park, and Kenny, with his siblings, moved in with his dad. So December 1974, Kenneth tried to make Steven go convince young boys who were alone to come with him, but he lied and said he wouldn't do it. So Kenneth would send Steven out to go try to recruit.
But he was dating and living with somebody?
His best friend's mother.
That's what I'm saying. So, how did he think that he could just bring a new boy in with, I'm going to fucking fuck something up. I'm going to fuck something up.
Yeah. May of 1975, he even got Barbara to try to do it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, this gets worse. The boy ran off, and Kenneth got mad at her for that. They had to move again because he was being so creepy and he didn't want to get caught, and Steven had to switch schools again. So, piece of shit Kenneth, he couldn't find work, so he used his mom's money to try to open a Bible store. But, of course, it failed miserably.
Why? Why did that not work?
Yeah. Steven was 10 years old now, and he would walk around freely. He got caught stealing, and the cops took him home, but he never once told them who he really was. Yeah. Spring of 1976, Barbara gained custody of Kenny and his 3 siblings. So they moved into a converted school bus that had wooden bunks in it. Picture that. Yeah.
Okay.
When the Bible store went out of business, Barbara left Kenneth for another man, and then
she's a classy broad.
She's, ugh. And she left Steven and Kenneth alone again. They moved again, and Steven even joined the Mendocino Middle School football team, and he got to like start dating girls and stuff like that. They raised farm animals, grew vegetables, and he was outdoors a lot. But Steven, in middle school, began drinking heavily and using marijuana because it was easily accessible.
Ooh, what was it, Heather? What was it?
That was accessible.
Got it. It was easily accessible. Easy accessible. It was pretty.
This bitch. Okay. He was drunk, and Steven was drunk, and he told his girlfriend that he wanted to go back to his real family, but she just thought he was just drunk. Like, he confessed that that wasn't his dad.
Whoa.
Yeah. Then they ended up moving to a marijuana ranch that was 50 miles away.
You can't make this shit up.
No. In Manchester, and it was a secluded cabin. Kenneth was hired to watch the land because the owner didn't live there, but in return he could stay for free. Now the cabin, though. The cabin didn't have electricity or indoor plumbing. Mm. Yeah, and then he was pumped, though, because he could skim weed off the top of the crop, and the owner didn't know. But Steven was miserable. He enrolled in high school there. He's in high school now. And Kenneth got a job at the Palace Hotel 50 miles away in Ukiah. So on Valentine's Day, 1980, Kenneth showed up to pick up Steven from school, and he had 5-year-old Timmy White with him in the car.
No.
Mm-hmm. Steven tried to distract Timmy, and he promised him that he would get him home safe. On March 1st, Kenneth left for his night shift, and Steven made them dinner, dressed them warmly, promised Queenie he'd be back for her, and then they ran. They hitchhiked to Ukiah, and they went to the babysitter's house, but no one was home. Timmy was too young to remember where his actual house was, so Steven decided to take him to the police station instead. But they had to go in front of the doors of the Palace Hotel to get there, like to get to the police station. So they had to go right in front of where Kenneth was to go.
That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. The police went and immediately arrested Shithead for their kidnappings and brought him in so Steven could identify him. But get this is going to make you mad too. For some reason, the cop pushed Steven into the room with Kenneth and asked him if he was sure that was who it was. He identified him through the window, and then he shoved him in the room and was like, "Are you sure?"
Asshole.
Steven flipped out, started beating on the door, "Let me out of here." So March 2nd, 1980, the cops took Steven to the cabin, but by now the media had picked up on it, and they had helicopters and all kinds of stuff,
of course,
out there. When they got there, the cops were horrified that the children were there, living there, and said it resembled a dirty one-room dungeon. Aww. I know. Good news, though. A little glimmer of light. Steven got to grab Queenie.
Yay!
And got to keep that promise, at least.
Aww.
I know.
Do we know what kind of dog it was?
They said I
probably
read
a mutt,
it,
I'd guess, but
I read it. I don't remember. It was one I didn't not a common.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I would say a mutt.
Okay,
a cute little
puppy.
Yes,
dog, mutt, lover, bear, fluffy thing. Okay.
That night after a press conference, they took Steven to reunite with his real family in Merced.
I saw this.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit!
It's fucking insane.
They were waiting there with about 230 people.
Yep.
Which I still can't believe that. That would be overwhelming just for anyone to walk into a room with 230 people.
Let alone he was 7 and now he's 14.
Yeah, and he hasn't seen his real family, let alone, and he's been through all that stuff. Yeah. And then they're like, all these people want to see you.
Oh, they ruin him. They ruin him. And luckily they don't ruin him, right? But because he's such an amazing human.
Yeah.
But fuck, I agree.
Steven had to ask his siblings their names, and the parents gave him the Christmas presents they'd kept for all those years. Steven's parents were strong in their faith, so they said they felt sorry for Kenneth and thanked the Lord that he had the sense to raise him right. I don't know how I don't think I would respond that way if somebody gave me my child back after that long, but
I wouldn't, but they're fucking psychos too.
Right? Yeah, I know. Now my viewpoint is different on the parents just because you're about to tell your stuff.
I don't have a lot, but what I have isn't good.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, then I'm going to leave out the next sentence that I wrote because I said, I don't know. I'm sure they didn't know all the details at the time, but that tells a lot about who they were as humans. That's what I wrote. Well, but now I feel differently. So
you will.
Okay.
1,000,000,000%.
Yeah. Well, I guess that shows.
There's a really key factor. And the reason I have it is because of, I talk about the trial, up against my other person. And so a lot comes out about the Stayner family from before.
Well, fucking hey. Okay. March 4th, Kenneth Parnell went to court and pleaded not guilty to the kidnappings of Steven and Timmy.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my fucking gosh.
I know. No one that worked with Kenneth could believe that he was capable of this per usual. You know, he had everybody else fooled. And he had even brought Steven around and saying, this is my son, Dennis, to his coworkers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and talked about him and stuff around him. Steven had told a few kids in school along the way. And one kid even told the teacher, like, that that guy took him. That's not his real dad. And the teacher, their conversation got interrupted when the student went to the teacher, and he never followed up. He said it still bothers him. That he just didn't.
That the kid didn't?
The teacher didn't.
Oh, it bothered the teacher said it. Mm-hmm. As it fucking should, you motherfucker. I
mean, because at that time he was like a 10-year-old probably, saying, hey, he said that's not his real dad. And then you're like, oh, I forgot.
Oh, right? Like, sorry, somebody came in and it was a busy day and I totally, like, what the fuck?
I know. Mary Parnell, Kenneth's mom, said she'd never met Steven and didn't believe any of this either, but she did mention what she called the trouble. So this is his childhood. The piece of shit Kenneth's childhood, real quick. Kenneth had a troubled childhood stemming because his parents split up when he was 5.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. When Mary moved him and his siblings away from his dad to Texas, or in Texas to California, Kenneth tried to pull 4 of his teeth out with pliers when he was 5. Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna let that one sit there.
He kept self-harming and he was suicidal. At 8 years old, he shined a torch into his eye so bad that he had to go get medical treatment. At 9, he threw himself off of a roof onto a pile of boards with nails in them and hurt his foot.
That's all he hurt?
Yeah.
Just kind of, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At 13, he was sent to a juvenile detention center when they found out that he gave oral sex to an older man. First of all, what happened to the guy? But right? You didn't expect me to say that. I could tell by your face. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself.
They sent the boy to juvenile detention center for
servicing an older man.
And they never told me. Never found out what happened to the older guy.
Well, hopefully death.
Right? I hope so too. This pattern continued, and he was arrested again and again, and for committing public sex acts with men, stealing cars, and all kinds of shit.
So, okay. Sorry, I just take 2 seconds to just be like, for public sex acts. So it's just like, I'm just sucking some dick on the side of the street. Like,
yep.
Just over here whacking off in the middle of the mall. Like, I don't.
They were public sex acts with men. That's what the charge is.
Just getting plowed in the butthole right outside of Tractor Supply Company. Like, I just have so many questions. Excuse me. I have questions. I want some details.
The fact that my best friend on this entire planet just said getting plowed in the butthole outside of Tractor Supply. I've never been so proud.
I'm glad.
Be still, my heart.
Fucking A.
He kept escaping from, Kenneth Parnell, you're still laughing.
Sorry.
Kenneth Parnell kept escaping from the facilities, including a mental institution, failed suicides attempt throughout his teens, all that stuff. He even married a woman when he was 19.
I like how they say the trouble, and this is like, how is anyone shocked that he kidnapped a young boy? How? Like, his rap sheet is like, hey, I'm going to escalate and do some fucked up shit.
Yeah, and his mom's like, well, it might have something to do with the treble. Really, bitch?
Oh, my God.
Man?
Talk about fucking rose-colored glasses.
No shit.
Man.
Then after he got married, he faked being a sheriff with a badge and told a 9-year-old he was in trouble and had to go with him to his parents. He took him out to the woods, sexually assaulted him, and then dropped him back off in town. The boy thankfully went back and told his parents, and Kenneth was arrested. You're gonna get more mad, so hang on.
I have feelings, and they're heavy, and they weigh on my still heart. Fucker.
Your still heart.
That would be I'd be dead, but okay, anyway.
In 1951, Kenneth pled guilty to the lesser charge of lewd contact with the private parts of a male child under the age of 14. 3 different doctors confirmed that Kenneth was a sexual psychopath and needed to go to a state mental hospital.
Oh, my God.
His poor wife at this time and their daughter, had a daughter.
So he procreated that daughter, or that was a previous?
That was,
he was 19.
Yeah,
so,
that was his child. She had that
one.
while all of this was going on. She had their baby.
Oh, my gosh.
Luckily, she ended up divorcing him a few years later, and he never met his child. Yeah. 1951, the court ordered that he go to a mental hospital for as long as the rehab would take.
I like how they think they can rehab him.
Oh, I know. He escaped a few more times, so they sent him to the state prison to serve five years to life. However, he was released shortly after, as long as he promised to get treatment, but he never did.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, I promise
a psycho, sadist, child molester.
Yep.
As long as you go get help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
1957, he married another woman and had another daughter.
Wow.
He got arrested for armed robbery, and she left him whenever she found out he was going to prison.
So the one interesting thing of life is that he cannot procreate and create a boy. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, wow.
But he had 2 girls. He's the dominating factor of the X and Y chromosome, and his ass over there, the good universe that is, was like, you will not have a young boy. We will not put a young boy in your life.
I never thought about that. Wow. They let him out in 1961, but they were like, hey, you can't live in Utah anymore. You need to leave.
I love it.
All these
States
laws
like, you know
are
what?
like,
Fuck you.
Hey, just go somewhere else and it's okay, right?
Yeah, you can keep doing it elsewhere.
Just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
1972, Kenneth got a job at Yosemite National Park, which at the time were known to hire a lot of ex-cons. But of course, he lied on his application, so they didn't know he was an
Can't wait
ex-con.
to tell you about my story.
Oh, shit. During Steven's investigation, the cops asked for a list of all the employees, but they failed to get both lists because they got paid biweekly in 2 different groups. And Kenneth was on the group that they didn't turn in.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember the other man that I was talking about that Steven liked when he was there? The cop,
Yeah.
He finally ended up telling the cops his name was Irvin Murphy, and he was a co-worker at the lodge with Kenneth. They arrested Irvin, and he spilled everything about how Kenneth took advantage of him, saying that they were going to spread the gospel to children, and he had told him that he wanted to adopt an underprivileged child, knowing that Irvin was abused as a child. Everybody said that Irvin Murphy was very easily influenced and just wanted to be a people pleaser, and so he kind of took advantage of him, pretty much. In my opinion, from everything I read, I think that's accurate, too. I mean, granted, he should have told somebody, but,
I mean,
you know.
I can sit here and be like, but go fuck yourself, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly
I know you're not.
how I
I know you're not like, you know what? I just think that Irvin was a good man. Yeah.
When Kenneth left town with Steven, he threatened Irvin to say that he was going to pin everything on him, and if he didn't give him money, he was going to go tell the cops. So he blackmailed Irvin for years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a stellar human.
On March 5th, 1980, Irvin Murphy pled not guilty to Steven Stayner's kidnapping, and his bail was set to $50,000, which was $30,000 more than Kenneth's.
Oh, my.
Right?
Why is our world so fucked up?
Yeah. Both cases were tough because they moved so much, and some of the police departments weren't giving the evidence or sharing the information or anything. It was very territorial. The crime scene wasn't secured either, and reporters, of course, had gotten into it. One reporter even gave the cops some Polaroids that he had taken from the cabin, and it was of Steven and his friend naked. But the Merced police said they couldn't use it because they couldn't prove it came from the cabin because it came from a reporter.
Why would it matter, though, if it's a fucking photo? It's a Polaroid. The photo is a photo. That's what's so crazy. Luckily, that's not how the laws are now. Like, that you're going to go to jail for just having that photo, right?
Yeah.
Because it's child pornography.
Yep.
My God, at least the laws have changed.
Yeah. This whole time, Steven was still denying all the sexual abuse. The cops went to all Steven's past schools and interviewed people. Some of Steven's friends had told their parents that they were abused by Kenneth as well. And when this was handed to the county DA, he chose not to pursue charges and never followed up on any of that. They said that they felt weird about charging adults with sexual abuse in this area for some reason. This same DA, though, somehow hypnotized Timmy White, and he described another person who helped Kenneth take him, and it was a friend of Steven's, 15-year-old Sean Poorman. 15-year-old. Sean liked going over there because Kenneth would give him weed and alcohol and stuff. So Sean and Kenneth went out, bought hair dye and girls' clothes. Kenneth gave Sean $50, and they went to get Timmy to disguise him as a girl. Sean grabbed him, threw him in the car, forced him to take sleeping pills, then just acted like it didn't happen when he got back to the cabin. He was like, okay.
What the fuck?
He was charged, Sean was charged with false imprisonment since he helped the cops. That's what they charged him with. On April 5th, 1980, Steven got a $15,000 reward for Timmy's safe return, and it was put into a trust until he was 18. The Stayners even took Steven to visit some of his friends he'd made along the way, and they went and got his favorite goat to take home.
Goat?
Yeah, they raised animals, so they went back to one of the ranch part and got his goat.
Okay.
Yeah. I like goats, so I put that in there.
I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that something happened that didn't thoroughly fucking suck dick.
Yeah. Soon after this, the cops showed Steven the Polaroids, and he finally admitted that he was abused. Steven said it happened the first night and escalated and happened whenever Irvin wasn't around when they first moved, which was almost every day. Ugh. When Kenneth started dating Barbara Mathis, Kenny's mom, his best friend, they had sex in front of him when he was 8, in front of Steven. Barbara,
wow,
this bitch, also raped him when Kenneth told her to, and they all shared a bed, all 3 of them, and it makes me fucking nauseous.
Oh my gosh. She goes to jail, yes?
Just wait.
Dear God.
Once Steven hit puberty, Kenneth wasn't attracted to him anymore. I feel so gross even just fucking saying this. Ugh.
I had to talk about necrophilia, so suck it up, bitch.
That's true.
Suck it up.
And it stopped. It all stopped in 1980, but that's when he got Timmy. Steven said he was just trying to survive and went along with things because he was scared he was going to get killed, and he was trying to survive to go back to his real family. The defense had him injected with that truth serum and videoed it because they thought that it would help the case for Kenneth, and it backfired. They destroyed the videos because the answers were so disturbing when he was on that stuff.
Aww.
Yeah. Both Kenneth Parnell and Irvin Murphy were charged with kidnapping, child stealing, false imprisonment, and conspiracy to kidnap. And they charged Kenneth with child molestation, and they had a preliminary hearing. Steven actually testified against Kenneth. Like, that's huge.
Wow, that is.
And takes a lot of guts. And he said he didn't realize until the 5th grade that he was taken and not given to Kenneth Parnell.
Oh my.
And he finally got the courage to leave when Timmy got there because he didn't want him to go through what he went through.
What a strong man.
Right? On April 17th, they went to the actual trial. Steven wouldn't testify about the sexual abuse, though, so the court had to drop that charge. They had Timmy's preliminary trial on April 25th, and Sean Pullman testified against him, and then that went to trial as well. Life went back to normal as possible for the boys, or as normal as it could get, I guess. Timmy went back to kindergarten, and life seemed all right. Steven went back to 9th grade, and when the sexual abuse stuff came into light, he was actually bullied really bad, called gay, saying that he wanted it and all that stuff.
Everyone's assholes.
Right. He didn't have many guy friends, obviously, so he was usually around women. He dated a lot of girls just because he said he wanted to prove he was straight.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. He kept being an advocate and volunteered with groups for missing children. Sean Pullman, who was the 15-year-old who helped grab Timmy, he got 2 years in juvenile detention.
You can't expect much. He was a little kid.
Yeah, and he actually helped, I guess, after the fact. That doesn't make it right, but... Kenneth pled not guilty to Timmy's abduction and blamed everything on Sean and his dad. He said they blackmailed him because of Steven and wanted a boy to trade for drugs or money or they would hurt his mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Kenneth. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Barbara Mathis, the girlfriend.
Yes.
She didn't serve any time, and she was never charged with anything.
I hope she has herpes.
God. That pissed me off so bad.
Yes.
Yeah. 1981, Kenneth Parnell was sentenced to the maximum sentence of 7 years, and he only served 5.
He served less years than Steven was taken.
Yeah. He was guilty for both, but California law at the time said that 2 kidnapping sentences could not be served concurrently, so he only got an additional 20 months, which pissed off the judge. Like, the judge was pissed because he couldn't do anything.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The following year, thankfully, new laws were passed to prevent this from happening again. Steven is 16 years old and obviously struggled to adjust. He struggled in school and at home. He wasn't used to taking orders. He was used to, drinking all the time and smoking pot, so his parents, they fought a lot. The sexual abuse was swept under the rug, and the family refused to get counseling.
Yep. I've heard that, yep.
That's insane.
Where they don't know how to address it, so they just do not address it at all.
Mm-hmm. 1983, Steven turned 18, which gave him the access to the $15,000 reward money, and then he got $25,000 because he sold a story.
Yes, he did.
The money was gone in 3 months because he had a ton of speeding tickets, and he spent it on drugs, alcohol, and then he lent his sister wedding money. He never got his high school diploma because he failed too many classes, and then he moved into a trailer with his cousin. He got a job at a meat packing plant, and he worked on his GED. 1984, Steven was hospitalized after a drunken bender, so he just quit drinking altogether and moved back in with his parents.
Look at him go.
April of 1985, stupid fucking Kenneth Parnell was released on good behavior. Released early.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, especially with his rap sheet and everything he had done before. He's obviously not meant to be out in society.
Right? Like a state where like marijuana is illegal, and if you sell a dime bag or whatever the fuck they're called, like let that guy out for good behavior.
It is a dime bag.
Thank you. Let that guy out for good behavior.
Yeah.
Or girl.
Yeah.
So, like not this guy.
Right.
No.
Fuck you.
In June of 1985, 20-year-old Steven married his girlfriend, 17-year-old Jody, and 6 months later they had a baby girl. They eventually then had another little boy. The following year, Steven and his wife were working 50-plus hours a week at the KFC. So they were like trying to work hard, do things. This is also when Kenneth was paroled and he was free to go. They got a fucking job at a security... He got a fucking job as a security guard at a boys' home because they somehow missed his criminal record.
Oh, my God.
Right? 1987, Steven got paid as an advisor in a made-for-TV series called I Know My Name is Steven about his kidnapping and even played a small role in it as a cop. After this aired, Kenneth's cover was blown, and of course they fired him.
Good.
Yeah. When Steven was 24, he was a manager at a Pizza Hut and left work. He hopped on his motorcycle not wearing a helmet because someone had stolen it a few days ago, and he hadn't replaced it yet. He drove past his first ever job at that meat plant, and a car driven by a drunk driver pulled out and stalled in front of him. Steven was thrown 45 feet from the motorcycle after he crashed into the car, but sadly after he passed away. Over 500 people attended his funeral, and Timmy White was 14 now, and he was a pallbearer. Cut to December 2002. Kenneth, this piece of shit, was arrested for attempting to abduct, quote, an English-speaking black boy, preferably 4 to 6 years old, offering to pay a friend $500 for him. He was 71 years old.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and he had huge health problems at this time. With this, though, he was hit with the 3-strike rule, so he finally got 25 to life.
Good.
Yeah. And then Kenneth, on January 21st, 2008, Kenneth died of natural causes in prison. Piece of shit.
Unbelievable. Talk about the system failing. Wow, the last episode and this episode, I'm feeling very much like the system fails.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to leave the rest of it off to prelude to your story, but that's the sad kidnapping of Steven Stayner and Timmy White.
Well, now I'm going to jump into mine.
Mm-hmm.
You
ready for it?
Let's talk about it.
I think I'm ready for it because you know a lot of stuff about that I don't.
Well, we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk to you about Cary Stayner, which was the older brother of Steven Stayner. I used Wikipedia as well, also serialkillercalendar.com. That's a really interesting site that kind of gives you a snapshot of the timing of everything that happened. Grunge.com and then Ranker, which always makes me think Wanka.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I know, always can't help it. This is going to be a little bit out of order compared to what we're used to, and kind of here's why. We're talking about a serial killer. Yes, because Steven's older brother became a serial killer.
That's
so fucking insane.
Yeah.
And we know who it is. So Cary, I'm blowing it out of the water right now. Cary Stayner became a serial killer when he grew up. I'm not going to lead you or try to ask you to figure out what happened here. But with that, we're going to be going into his life and his upbringing first, and then actually discussing some of the items that came out during the trial before we even get to the murders. So I'm going to talk to you about that. It's pretty heavy. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about the victims. My apologies on that. This really is kind of about Cary, and I know that's not really the angle that we should take, but based on the story, that's why. That's why I'm talking more about the life of Cary and what happened here. So he was born on August 13th, 1961, and as we all know, he was raised in Merced, California. His 7-year-old brother, Steven Stayner, was kidnapped by child molester Kenneth Parnell in 1972 when Cary was only 11 years old. And he was held captive for more than 7 years, escaping and being reunited with his family later on. Cary later said that he felt neglected while his parents grieved over the loss of Steven, and a lot happens to the Stayner family while Steven was away.
Sorry, real quick. Whenever I'm actually glad that you're going to cover this part, because I did wonder what happened inside the home without that to end up with that result.
Yes. Because obviously something happened, right?
I mean,
I will always wonder this, and this sounds terrible, but if Steven had never come home, Cary would have not been a murderer, and I'm confident in that.
Wow.
If it was a huge portion, I think, of Steven coming home. It wasn't that Steven was kidnapped. There was a lot of fucked up shit that happens there for sure. Mm-hmm. There's neglect in there. But I think it's when Steven comes back, that is what flips the switch in Cary, because now his brother is back 7 years later, and all of the attention goes to him.
It's weird that you say that, because in my research and stuff, and I promise I'll let you talk in a minute, they were talking about how Cary watched him breathe the first night he was home, like stayed the night at the house, like stayed up and watched him sleep, and then went out to wish on a star, but then forgot that he doesn't have to because his brother's home, because he used to go do that.
Aww.
I know.
It is cute. It's cute and sad. There's a lot of sad fucked upness in this.
Mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No problem. So when Steven escaped Parnell and returned home in 1980, he received massive media attention, as we know. A true crime book and TV movie, both titled I Know My First Name is Steven, they were made about the ordeal. Steven died in a motorcycle accident in 1989. The following year, Cary's uncle Jesse, with whom he was living with at the time, was murdered.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So Cary ended up living with his uncle. His uncle ends up being murdered. He was apparently shot in his home that he shared with 2 men. Some people think that Cary did it.
That's what I was going to ask.
No one ever figured out who did it.
Wow.
Yeah. Murder is horrible. And what this man did is like, there's no excuse. I completely understand that. But once we're going to go through this, you're going to completely understand how he became a serial killer. And we all have our own trauma. But man, this kid went through the ringer. Like he went through the ringer.
Yeah.
During his murder trial, Stayner's defense lawyers, who were trying to save him from a death sentence, they revealed a long history of child abuse in the Stayner home.
What? Oh, God.
Cary Stayner had been sexually abused by his uncle, while his sisters were abused by their father, Dell.
What?
Dell molested his daughters.
No wonder you were giving me that look like they're not good people.
So they say. So everything's alleged, but...
Fuck.
Yes. And his name was Delbert Stayner. But anyway, in 1986, Dell was court-ordered to therapy after abuse allegations.
Oh, fuck.
And the family history of pedophilia had been a long problem.
Oh, no.
Yeah, one that they believe lasted for 3 generations.
What?
So for 3 generations, child molesting was happening in the Stayner home on Dell's side. Well, look at this. Kay was molested by her own father.
Oh, my God.
Now stop and wonder why no one got Steven any help.
Okay. Fuck. A light bulb just switched in my head.
Yeah. That's why they never addressed it. They never talked about it. Because the dad was molesting the daughters. His brother was molesting his son. And Kay had been molested by her dad.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah.
This...
Yes. Now look at this shit. Cary's uncle had been formerly convicted of child molestation, but he was still allowed to be alone with Cary.
How? Why? How? Ooh.
I don't know. Dude, look at your story.
No,
No shock as to why the fuck things happen. So after Steven had been abducted. There we go. Cary
abs.
Fuck.
6-pack abducted.
Yes. Cary and a cousin spent a night with their uncle, who showed them nude photos of underage girls.
What?
They then slept in the same bed, and Cary awoke to his uncle attempting to molest him. I read in one of these articles, and that's what I told you, that is why they think that Cary had ended up killing his uncle.
I mean...
All of this is happening while Cary is attempting to live his life and while he's in high school.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Does your watch just...
Yep, I watched it, and she is like me. She doesn't know how to respond to that. I get it. They think that in a way he has found his way with his peers in school. Although he's really quiet, he's kept to himself. He loved to draw, and he would do like caricatures of people, and he read comics, and he listened to heavy metal, and even served as the cartoonist for the student paper and was voted most creative by his classmates. Those who knew him assumed he would go on to become a graphic artist or a professional cartoonist. So
Wow.
he had skills.
So he was good.
But he made people around him like feel really uncomfortable, particularly girls his age.
Oh, God.
When his sister had a sleepover, get ready.
Oh,
He
no.
crawled under the bed of one of her friends in order to touch her breasts. She told him to stop, and he left, only to reappear nude in the doorway.
What?
She had to tell him to leave a second time, which is like, what the fuck?
No, that's not okay.
Right.
No dick surprise.
Right.
No. No
This is not-
undergrab. No undergrab.
No
No.
tit grab while I'm laying in the bed, and there's a
No.
creepy, like, what the fuck?
Not crawl and honk.
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You do. I know it's inappropriate. We have to
Yeah.
make light of the situation.
Yeah, you
'cause
have
this
to.
is very heavy.
It is. As you can imagine, though, he had trouble developing relationships with girls.
Why?
Despite them having interest in him, because I hate to say this.
No.
He's a beautiful man.
Really?
Oh,
I'm
he
looking
is.
him up.
No one hate me for this, but this man is very good looking.
I want to see him.
So that also is what kind of like highlights the fact of how weird the relationships kind of became, because he was such a good looking guy, and yet he could not figure out how to like talk to people, like specifically women. And girls wanted to like, you know, girls would tell his friends that they would like to date him, but he never pursued any relationship and he ended up remaining alone.
Yeah.
Look
He's
at
got
his
a crazy eye.
Look at his other photos. According to some reports, he wanted to bang bitches, but couldn't get past being a weirdo, basically. Whoa. Obviously, it wasn't said like that, but...
That's what I'm sure it was in the police report that way.
Exactly like it.
If we wrote police reports, that's
exactly what it would say.
Like, this motherfucker
told me. Okay, so while in prison, Cary Stayner's defense lawyers ordered a psychiatric evaluation on him. This included a positron emission topography, a PET scan, an imaging test that can basically detect brain diseases and disorders. The results showed that his mental issues were aligned with schizophrenia and other mental disorders. His mental health issues predated his brother's abduction. When he was 2 years old, Stayner began pulling out his own hair.
What?
And he had to wear a hat to school to cover up the bald spots, which then he ended up getting bullied for.
Wow.
So he was already out the womb.
Was he being molested at that time?
No, not until later.
Okay.
As a child, he also suffered from intrusive images in his head, including thoughts about his mother being kidnapped. When he was 7, he imagined killing female cashiers at a grocery store.
Whoa.
When he was an adolescent, he began having dark sexual fantasies involving rape. He thought he heard voices and other mysterious noises, like messages emanating from the television. Stayner was once driven by a friend to a psychiatric center after hitting his bloodied hand against a piece of plywood and saying he wanted to set his workplace on fire with his boss and coworkers inside.
Whoa.
According to his evaluation, Stayner's behavior later in life is a result of these fantasies.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Now we have Carole Sund, who's 42, her daughter Juli Sund, who's 15, and Eureka, California, and Silvina Pelosso, who's 16. She is Julie's friend. So it's a mom, her daughter, and then her daughter's friend.
Okay.
They're visiting from Argentina, and they're vacationing together. And so they decide to stay at the Cedar Lodge Motel in El Portal, California, near Yosemite National Park.
Okay.
The motel is where Cary Stayner worked as a handyman, and on February 15th, 1999, Stayner knocked on Sund's door. Carole Sund answered, and he told her he was there to repair a leak. Once inside the room, he pulled out a gun and said he was there to rob them. All three were bound and gagged. Carole Sund was taken into the bathroom by Stayner and immediately strangled to death and put in the trunk of her rental car. Stayner then set his sights on the 2 teen girls, both of whom were forced to take off their clothes and were sexually assaulted. God. Pelosso was taken into the bathroom where Stayner strangled her. He then carried her corpse out to the car, and she too was placed in the trunk. Juli Sund was put in the car alive.
No.
In the trunk.
What? No.
So if you can imagine the fear and like sadness that this girl felt, her friend and her friend's mom were both dead, and she's crammed into the trunk with them knowing that she's about to be killed. Once Stayner had traveled a short distance, he cut Sund's throat, nearly decapitating her. He abandoned her corpse near a lake. Stayner left Sund's rental car in the woods, and then he called himself a taxi. He returned a few days later to set the car on fire. And essentially, he gets away with murder. Several days after the Sunds and Pelosso's disappearance, a wallet, driver's license, and credit cards belonging to Sund were found, but there was no sign of the woman or their Pontiac Grand Prix rental car. A month went by before a hiker discovered a vehicle in the mountains, which turned out to be the Grand Prix that Sund had rented. The car had been torched, and once police looked inside the trunk of the vehicle, they discovered the remains of Carole Sund and Pelosso.
Oh, my God. I forgot how bad this story was. I've heard it.
Yeah.
And I forgot.
Yes.
God.
The same week that the 2 bodies were found, an anonymous letter was sent to the FBI with a hand-drawn map. So I just said that the remains of Carole Sund and Pelosso, but Pelosso was the friend and she was not in there. So that was a typo of whoever I got this from. So my apologies. We'll tell you more. So he ends up having a hand-drawn map, and the disturbing note later, determined to have been identified as written by Stayner, read, "We had fun with this one."
Oh, God.
And the map led the police to the body of Juli Sund.
Oh, my
So one of them was not. Oh, and then they say Juli Sund. Interesting.
Huh.
So maybe he, for whatever reason, moved one of the bodies out of the trunk. But either way,
it sounded sucks.
yeah.
Then I hate that I thought this, and I was like, is there a picture of the map? I want to know if he drew it like he could draw, or if it was just like he tried to throw him off and drew like a piece of shit with a crayon. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I didn't look into that.
Randomly curious.
His next victim, only 4 months later, was 26-year-old park naturalist Joie Armstrong, who had been staying in a cabin at the park. Her body was found decapitated near a stream in the forest. Stayner later told investigators that he had bound Armstrong and forced her into his car, and she heroically escaped before he caught her. An FBI agent said that Stayner recounted his crimes as if he was reading a soup label. Because Armstrong fought against Stayner, making noise in the process, he left the scene of the crime in a hurry and left several clues behind, including the tracks from his vehicle as well as his footprints. A witness also was able to describe the vehicle parked outside of Armstrong's house, which was the same car that Stayner drove. Investigators initially didn't suspect Cary Stayner as a suspect, despite spending much of his time in the area. He was always nearby, on hand, opening rooms at the Cedar Lodge for the investigators to search for evidence.
No,
Yeah.
Whoa.
So he was the one helping the investigators try to figure out who, because he worked there. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. That would, if you were
He was interviewed. There's videos of them interviewing him about it all.
Well, if he was that calm talking about a soup label, I'm sure he wasn't freaking out or giving him any indication that.
Yeah. They literally interview him, and he is taken. Even there's a tip that's called in about his car, which was parked near the crime scene.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, he's just an eyewitness.
Wow.
After the police looked into the tire tracks left at Joie Ruth Armstrong's cabin and spoke to a witness who was able to give a vehicle description, then they were able to make a match to the vehicle. The SUV belonged to Cary Stayner, the motel handyman, who they interviewed before on several occasions,
I'm sure they
but
did.
never got the impression that he was a suspect.
Did they ever link the two, like that his brother went through all that stuff? I wonder if they ever linked the two, like, well, maybe we should look into that a little bit more. He's been through some shit.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
He was never a suspect. So they would have never looked into it. And he's not going to be like, oh.
Yeah, that's true. Huh.
But you'll hear there's a little bit of that in there.
Oh, God.
Well,
I don't want to. Can we just stop?
Do you want to know where he got arrested? Whenever he did get arrested, he was at a nudist colony.
Oh, I was going to say titty bar.
No.
Nudist colony?
A Laguna Sol nudist colony.
Well, he likes to swing.
Well, apparently it was one of his favorite places. They found him there. He was clothed and he was eating breakfast, and they asked if they could talk to him. It wasn't long before the police got a full confession from Stayner. He admitted to killing the 4 women, and he was promptly arrested. Now, because he worked at Yosemite National Park, he was questioned by police, as I mentioned, on numerous occasions about the deaths of the women. He had not been in a lot of trouble previously, having only a minor drug charge on his record, and police ultimately ruled him out as a suspect. In fact, the police had managed to arrest several men with lengthy criminal records that they felt were probably responsible for the murders, and they were focusing on getting confessions out of him. So they had arrested men for the murder of the 3 women before, and they were in jail.
Oh.
It wasn't until the 4th victim was found, Joie Ruth Armstrong, that they realized that the killer was out there, and they released the other men.
Well, at least they released them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. Fuck.
Yeah.
FBI agent Jeff Reinick, one of the agents who arrested Cary and then spent 90 minutes in the car with him driving to the Bureau headquarters in Sacramento, remembered that he willingly talked about what happened to his brother. He also seemed angry at the driver who fatally crashed into him and ticked off by the light sentence given to Parnell, who was now a free man.
Yeah.
So he talks about it in the car ride.
Wow. I wish he would have went and killed fucking Kenneth.
That would have made a hell of a lot more sense.
Right.
Cary pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison for killing Armstrong. However, prosecutors were intent on seeking the death penalty for the murders of Carole, Juli, and Silvina. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but was convicted on all charges in August of 2002. Or, I'm sorry, 2002.
Oh, you said, I was like, huh?
Yesterday.
Whoa.
It took a long time. Both Dell and Kay Stayner testified during the penalty phase of the trial that October that neglected Cary to a degree when Steven went missing. So his parents come and they're like, our bad.
Whoa. They did?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Dell says, I didn't socialize with him. I yelled at him a lot. And that was in the movie too.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, the dad just basically was an asshole and yelled at them all. I don't know if in the movie there's any, I don't think any of the molesting came out until the trial.
Yeah.
My son is very sick right now. He added, I don't think he should be executed because he's sick. Kay told the jury of her surviving son, very seldom did he get into trouble. He was a good student, a good artist, and he was very loving. If his dying would bring back these people, I'd say do it. But executing him is not going to bring them back.
Wow.
That was very valid.
It's a very powerful statement.
Yeah. His sister, Cynthia Sartell now, testified that their dad was on a mission after Steven disappeared, and looking for their brother consumed his time and energy to the detriment of his other kids. We were kind of on our own, she said. We tried to keep quiet and not upset our parents.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah. Hearing about Cary's traumatic past or childhood issues didn't sway the jury, though, and they recommended the death penalty, and a judge agreed. He remains on death row at San Quentin State Prison, though California hasn't executed a prisoner since 2006, and Governor Gavin Newsom, whoever fucking cares, imposed a moratorium on carrying out the death penalty while he was in office. So anyway, he's going to be on death row. I don't know if he just stays on death row, but he's not going to get executed. When Cary Stayner was questioned by FBI agents, he immediately confessed to the 4 Yosemite Park murders, and that's what he ends up being known as, the Yosemite Killer, and provided a detailed accounting of his crimes. He also revealed a disturbing truth, that he had originally intended to kill his girlfriend and her daughters before he went on to target Carole, Juli, and Silvina on February 15th of 1999. On the day of those murders, Stayner spent most of his time with his girlfriend and her family.
Whoa.
Yeah. That girlfriend worked at a restaurant at Cedar Lodge. And one of her daughters, Lena, was interviewed by ABC's 2020 and 2019 and said she and her sister were excited whenever Stayner came to visit. He taught them how to dive into the water and bought them a new Beanie Baby with every visit. Like every time he came, he was super great to them.
Oh, God.
Though she remembers feeling uncomfortable with him when he once stripped completely bare in front of them at the Merced River.
What?
He often carried a backpack that she later found out contained his murder weapons.
Could you imagine being that girl too?
No.
God.
Because they find out.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, what the fuck? I'm sure his girlfriend is like, fuck. I can't believe that
I can't believe I
put my kids in this kind of situation. Yeah. After his arrest, the FBI later informed her mother of Stayner's original intentions, which involved killing them all and raping Lena and her sister.
Oh, my God.
Stayner considered doing it on 3 different occasions. Before leaving for the nudist colony and after murdering his last victim, Stayner went looking for Lena and her family, but they had left town and they were visiting her grandmother.
Good.
So they would have been murdered.
Yeah.
I think that's so fucked up, though. At the end of his murder trial in 2002, Cary Stayner was sentenced to death for the murders of Carole and Juli Sund and Silvina Pelosso. The trial was so emotionally charged that Judge Thomas C. Hastings had to leave the room to gather himself, and when he came back, he had been crying.
The judge?
The judge.
Who hears shit all day, every day.
Yes.
That's insane.
I know. Stayner's defense attorneys positioned Stayner as a victim of mental illness and trauma, which was stemming from his brother's abduction and then having been molested as a child as well. During the sentencing hearing, Stayner stunned the courtroom when he suddenly broke down in tears and apologized.
Whoa.
He says, I wish I could take it back, but I can't. He said, I wish I could tell you why I did such a thing, but I don't even know myself. I'm so sorry. I wish there was a reason, but there isn't. It's senseless. Leslie Armstrong, who was Armstrong's mother, started crying as she listened to Stayner and said afterward that she believed his apology was genuine.
Whoa.
Stayner was sentenced to life in prison without parole, and he is currently 62 years old.
Oh, my God.
And that is the Yosemite Park Killer, as well as Steven Stayner's older brother, Cary. Right.
This is a lot.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I can't. Okay. That's a lot. I don't even know what to say because I didn't know any of that. I knew the story of like the actual murder part, but I didn't know any of the other molestation part. And I hate that happened to him and the kids or whatever, allegedly. But like, not every kid that's molested grows up and cuts people's heads off in the woods.
That's a valid statement.
Like, it's a bummer that it happened. It sucks, but not every survivor does that.
That combination, it's the combination, right? Mm-hmm. Like being molested, your brother coming back, him being molested, losing him for 7 years, losing your family because they're so wrapped up in it. You already had psychiatric issues. He was schizophrenic. He was envisioning terrible things at very, very young ages. No one addressed anything. No one talked about anything.
Well, they probably didn't want him to go to counseling if he was getting molested. They didn't want him to say anything, too.
Well, Dell went to fucking whatever he went to.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't being molested by his direct parents.
Yeah. I wonder about his uncle, if he shot his uncle.
I do too. I didn't, honestly, based off the time, I was like, I'm not going to dive into the uncle death. I'm just going to leave that as that wisp of like, what really happened there?
I do ponder.
I do too.
Well, good job.
Well, thank you. Good job to you too. What a bummer.
Yeah.
What a crazy scenario. You cannot make that shit up.
No.
You cannot make it up.
Yeah, and then you obviously get why the victims kind of get lost in it on your side, just because it's so unusual. Yeah. There's a new, I don't know if they redid the old Hulu special of Steven or if they made a new one, but there's something on Hulu now.
Yeah, they did. So what they ended up doing is at that movie that was called I Know My Name is Steven, the actors who portrayed Cary and Steven and everything, they come back in another documentary, the actors who were kids at the time, right? So it's a 14-year-old at the time, and now he's like 30 or something. And he's talking about like what happened in the scenario here. Same thing with the guy who played Steven. Cary, he comes back and he's like, what the fuck?
Right.
I played a kid before he became a serial killer.
Yeah.
And so they had him come back because it was interesting because they were so engrossed in the story. They're the actors, right? And it was a huge production at the time. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was so...
Yeah.
There's nothing more riveting, I think, than when a child is abducted, tortured, essentially, for years and years and years and comes back. They have to tell the story.
Yeah, that one...
Elizabeth Smart, like all of them, you know, like you have to know. We need to know what happened in those 7 years.
Yeah, that's insane. I want to look at... I kind of want to watch a clip of the old one just to see Steven in it as one of the cops. Yeah. And it had to be real for the actors, too, because Steven was an advisor.
Right.
So they heard it straight from his mouth.
Thank goodness they did it when they did before he ended up having... like before he died. Now, the other part here, too, is that they talked about like kind of the crazy timelines of it. But the guy who wrote the book, he ended up dying like spontaneously at a young age. Like, and so did Tommy. Yeah. Or Timmy. Timmy died at 35.
Yeah.
Our
he had
age.
A pulmonary aneurysm.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of like the whole storyline and everything involved in it was cursed in its own way.
Oh, yeah. Timmy, I forgot that part. Timmy was a sheriff. He grew up to be a sheriff before he died, and he had a wife and stuff. He had a family.
That's cute. It's cute and sad. Well, guys, that was the Stayner family.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy story to talk about.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to watch the movies, too. I saw the documentary, which is how I knew as much as I did. But now I want to see it again with fresh eyes after doing all the research on it.
And I could tell that you'd seen it because you were just shaking your head yes at me while I was telling
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. God. Well.
Here we go. I hope everyone has an awesome Easter. Yeah. And this is going to come out after Easter. Yeah. I want to body slam whoever's texting you right now because Heather has that stupid freaking light strobe that pops up onto her phone. And it's always like the most distracting thing in the world. Love it. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Sorry. Will's mowing the yard. So my Ring doorbell's going off 400 times.
Yes. And it has. And I have noticed. All right. Well, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. Yeah. Do we want to announce what's happening next episode?
Surprise. Do you think so?
Let's do
a surprise.
I think
you
we should tease.
You want to say it so bad.
I feel like we should tease and tempt. We're going to have a special guest.
We are.
And we're really excited.
We've been waiting on this one for a while.
This was actually the whole reason we decided to start bringing... We're going to bring, I don't know, for anyone who's listening and who's friends with us and they're like, I want to be on the podcast. We don't really know how we're choosing to do it right now. Yeah. We had 2 delicious ripe apples, if you will, that were on a tree that we have picked. And we are pumped about it. And we got so excited with Chad. This one, too, is just as exciting. Yeah. And so I truly have no idea.
These are pretty big gets.
Yeah.
These are pretty big gets.
That's what I'm saying. Big old juicy apples. Big old juicy apples. We're very lucky. We're very blessed to have them on. I don't know what's going to happen later on with people who are coming on. So yeah. We'll see. Heather's been working diligently, and it's something that we're working on, but we will have a merch store out maybe in the next 2 months, if not before that. So we'll keep you guys abreast of the information. So that you can get, I don't know, is that a word, right?
What? Abreast?
Yeah.
I don't know. You work titties into every conversation.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. Well,
on that note, happy Easter.
Yes, everyone. Okay, we love you.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.
Theodore, can I pet that dog?